Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's going on, Music Familia? I'm hanging out with Sunshine and my girl Tiffany.
What's up?
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So, Tiffany was telling me that you are an entrepreneur in many realms around Columbus in the area. Would you like to dive into that?
Sure. Yeah, I have some art here at Wanderlust, which is amazing.
She's got a couple different things in here. Very colorful, just like you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been a part of a few different dance groups. I've done stuff with Anna and the Anatroids and Sex Kid
Oh,
Burlesque.
yeah. I forgot about that.
I'm doing burlesque.
Or like you're trying to like, oh yeah, I forgot.
You are also...
Because you do so many things, so I'm like,
I
oh yeah, I
do.
forget about that.
Yeah, I was going down the list of all. I was like, I don't know where to really start. I'm gonna let her start.
Yeah, I've done drag.
You have?
Yeah, do you know that? Really?
I've actually thought about doing it myself, respectively. Like, honestly, I've thought
Hey.
about doing it, you know?
What else?
Yeah.
I didn't know that though.
I have to show
I
you
love it
something.
though.
I have to show you the
see
side by
this.
side.
Well, why didn't I know? Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
So I'm basically like if like
Wow.
Kid Rock and David Spade had a baby.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh my god.
That is
That's
great.
awesome. Where'd you do that at? Like,
Wall Street mostly.
oh, okay.
Yeah, back in
Was
Wall
that
Street
fun?
days. Yeah, I think about doing drag all the time. But still,
Nice.
I think about actually doing like I want to do like my previous character was a conservative bi-curious redneck.
Holy shit.
And I would do songs like Pretty Fly for a White Guy or Sex and Candy by Marcy Playground. And I would wear I had a tank top that said Obama can't control these guns and it pointed to my arms, which are small for a man.
You're skinny.
For a man, yeah.
Wow.
But I think about doing like a...
She does comedy too, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even remember what you do.
Yeah. I want to do like a drag character that's like a creepy male feminist that is using like wokeness to like get close to women, and I would do like I don't know, like Youngblood songs or Oliver Tree.
Oliver
And maybe,
Tree
like-
would be perfect.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
perfect.
I think a lot about what's the song where he falls on the limousine in the video? Hurt.
I think so.
Yeah.
I want to say, man, that was a couple of videos ago.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I could be in like black leather skinny jeans and like a white t-shirt that just says like male feminist and have like some facial jewelry and paint my nails black and just be sort of gross.
That's why I love you. Because you're just like, you and I think the same like bizarre kind of shit. We just like go down one way. We're like, yeah, this is weird. Let's go down
Yeah.
here.
I don't have to explain to people how I feel about those stereotypes. I just want to show them through performance art.
Right.
It's easier that
Out of
way.
fun.
though.
Yeah.
Let's be fun. Let's all be funny and tell the truth at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and when I was doing drag before, Wall Street was the longest running LGBTQ nightclub in the country.
Yes.
So even though there weren't, I mean, even now, but especially when there weren't a lot of drag kings, the kings out of Wall Street were like incredible. So it was not like I was going to go in and compete with somebody and do like a Frank Sinatra or a Justin Bieber or like a Lenny Kravitz and like,
Right. You did your own thing.
yeah,
And which is even better. It's even more creative.
it is.
Right? Because that gets, I mean, when people are seeing Justin Bieber, they're seeing
Yeah.
like doing all that, that's sort of like they know what to expect. But that walks up on stage. You're like,
Right.
What's that?
I wanted to make a different commentary about gender.
Different kind of commentary. That's perfect. The non-response kind.
The non-response.
The non-response. Like, your face is perfect. That's all I need right
Yeah.
there. So it's interesting to me that you are able to mix and match. And when I say that, for those of you at home, I'm talking to you, for everybody at home, being a suicide girl, being a performer, being a comedian, all of these forms are forms of great expression, but there's only one, maybe a handful of ways to really make all of them work to where, how do I want to put it, that it's appealing, that it is interesting, that people are drawn to it, because so many of those things are happening every day. So it takes a person of unique ability to stop everybody and be like, hey,
Yes.
look at this, you know?
Well,
So-
it's for energy too.
Right, and that's what I was going to
You're
go with.
captivating.
Positive energy, you know, the inviting of the inviting and feeling invited type of commentary, you know, where somebody wants to ask, not point a finger, but actually ask, like, so what was your thought on that? Like, what?
Yeah.
How do you feel that all of those parts of you, like, what part came first? I guess, to be honest, to ask you directly, you know.
I've always done creative things, and I've always wanted to experiment with my aesthetic. Like
Samesies.
if I were a child today, I'm sure I would have a medical diagnosis. However, I was not, so I don't. But like my fourth or fifth grade school picture, I have on. I mean, I can remember outfits from childhood that are still like iconic Sunshine outfits that I
Yes.
loved, and I had this. This would have been like maybe 1999 or 2000. I had like a long sleeve black shirt, and the collar was like a feather boa. And I have that on in my fourth grade school picture. And I also earlier, like I had an outfit in first or second grade that was like a denim with leopard print accent, like
Oh
button
shit.
up dress with an ascot.
Man, that's like, you're like dating the time, like, wow.
She was stylish.
Yeah.
But
stylish.
that's like really young to be concerned about what you're wearing, right? Like it's really young to start being putting together things like that. So
I would put together outfits, and I would come down the stairs with such confidence, and my mom would be like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I thought we were going to the mall." She's like that? And I'm like, "Yes." Jelly shoes with socks and sweatpants and a tank top. Like, I right?
Yeah.
That's how I wanted to wear. That's kind of how I am now. Like how I wake up. When I wake up, it's like, what mood am I in today? It's always a good mood, but I mean, like, kind of like you. Your style speaks for your personality too.
Yeah.
You know, the just whatevs.
Yeah.
We can dress up real nice.
Right. It has been weird being. I quit my job and went back to school, so it was a funny joke that I dressed like a teenager until I was suddenly around like all teenagers, and now I feel super weird. Like it wasn't weird when I was doing hair and everybody was like 22 to 28, and they were like, you dress like a teenager, in the sense that we all dress like teenagers, like it's Dawson's Creek, but we're really like,
Oh shit. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I look the same age as many of my classmates. Like, not if you really know, like, if you're really looking, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's a little strange.
How are you liking school?
I would rather be working.
Really?
Yeah.
Like in the profession that you're going to school for?
Sure.
Or
In general.
Oh no.
Well, it's because it's like, I like a routine. I like all the things in my life that are not, let me phrase this differently. I like to work in order to live instead of living to work.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily care that I'm particularly passionate about my job. I just want to work and reasonably like the people I work with and reasonably like the company I work for, and then do a bunch of other stuff. So like being in school takes so much energy for so little payoff.
Yeah. That's how I felt in college. I went to broadcasting school. And it doesn't help when you start in the classes and you see other people that just don't give a flying. Like, they just don't care. They're just whatever. And you're there because you're there to do what you need to do. And it was educational for me to see other people like, oh, this is how you spend the money you got from this. Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, so I can definitely relate to that. Have you had a lot of, like, growing up with some of the things that you went through, Sunshine, did you have a lot of support?
My parents are very loving, but they are not. I think, like a lot of people, I didn't always feel like they could give me support in the ways that I needed. But my parents also didn't have me until they were 35, so we're almost 2 generations apart for people at that time. So it's like...
Yeah. Were your parents strict or anything like that?
No. I mean...
So they gave you the freedom to be yourself.
My parents were really supportive in the sense that they are very loving, and I could basically do whatever I wanted. But they didn't, but like in some ways, like I felt like maybe like guidance. But I think if you were to ask them, they would be like, well, you weren't going to listen to me anyway, so I don't know.
Right, well, now that you're older, you're like, maybe, like you see things differently of yourself when you were younger, because you're older.
Yeah. Well, I have
weird...
I have one sibling, and he's 17 years older than me, and we're full siblings. So my parents parented one other whole human before I was born, who is just a totally different person to raise than I am. So it's also like they had all this experience raising one person, thinking they like have this under control.
That's how I felt.
And I'm just so totally different in what I needed than my brother.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
It's interesting to think about, like, in itself. Like, anybody who's a product of the 80s, like, instantly is like, oh, that's me. That's me. With everything that you've accomplished, Sunshine, what would you take as your most positive and your most negative away from what you've been through?
That's a great question. I think that the most important thing I've learned is like seeing how the sausage is made. Mm-hmm. Like in a world that is so driven by like media and advertisements, I don't know how anybody handles life that has never been part of a photo shoot or a video or the production of something, because they're so inundated like with the other end of it. How would you ever have perspective? I mean, I can't imagine being constantly inundated with like advertisements and filtered images and media and never getting to experience what it's like on the other side of that.
I think the best part for us, though, looking in, is that we can turn it off. Like, the millennials today can't. Like, they can't. If they turn it off, well, Siri didn't tell me what to do, so I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to get to the mall. I don't know how to I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know 2 + 2. Oh, Siri, what's 2 + 2?
Well, I think a lot of people are living online and not actually living their life out. They're too concerned about what other people are doing, about posting what it is that's going on. Like, social media can be it can be good and it can be very negative.
All in the same paragraph.
Yeah.
All in the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is different because you're bombarded with,
Yeah, when it's just like, how would you... I don't know. I got to, especially like doing stuff with Suicide Girls, there were women that I had followed online for like literal years that then I met in person and I saw them do photo shoots and I knew what they really looked like and what they acted like and it just was hugely eye-opening because for the most part, even then when there was less like diversity and body positivity, and people didn't really look like what you expected them to look like, and there were times where I would shoot like a whole year of content in a week and they would look totally different. So it's like,
What do you mean by that?
I have a bunch of photo shoots that were shot in a week where I literally look like I have different hair colors in every photo because of the lighting. But other stuff, like there's a photo that I have where I look like I am about 5'9" and like a old school plus size model where they were like maybe a size 6 with a flat stomach. And I would get all these comments that were like, it's so great to see like some body positivity and like to see like a larger person.
Wow.
And so it's like when you get images of yourself that are all taken close to the same time, and you get a lot of feedback from people that are like, it's so great to see a bigger girl, or it's so great to or then you get other comments that are like on other photos that are like, go eat a sandwich or eat a cheeseburger, or like,
that is what I'm experiencing right now on TikTok. I'm getting skinny shamed.
But I would get all shamed for things that were shot within like 5 days of each other, and that's when I knew it was just bullshit. It's like, it doesn't matter.
No.
Like these, I'm literally the same person in all of these.
Yeah. And that's another thing that can be deceiving. There's a lot of things that are put out there to make it look like it is one thing, but behind the picture, at the end of the day, it is completely opposite. Like, they're not even the same person.
Even just the things that even the things you don't realize you're learning. Like, this has probably been, I don't know, 5 to 7 years ago. I was with one of my friends, and she was like, sort of feeling bad about her body, and she was like wanting to lose weight, and she was like, I just feel like I should have a thigh gap. And I was like, but why? And she was like, I don't know, you have a thigh gap. And I'm like, in photos, and I showed her, I rotated my thigh muscles backwards, standing straight, so there was a space, and she was like, just like, it's like the allegory of the cave, right? You're just like, you see it for real.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, she was like, almost none of these people have a thigh gap. You're just moving your body for a photo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I just have muscle control. I just have individual muscle control that a lot of people aren't thinking about.
It's
Yeah.
how you move your body.
Before it was before
filters.
filters, it was angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about
The
angle.
MySpace
is.
angle.
Yeah. Oh man, so many of those. Yeah.
That's funny.
So, looking at things are a lot different by the sounds of it when you initially started doing suicide and doing the stand-up and doing hair and doing everything. It all comes down to, like, millennials just don't get it. And I say that a lot because the work ethic, to do those jobs, to do those kinds of not just hobbies but interests, it's a lot of work. You can't just walk in and say, hey, I'm a suicide girl today. Like, there's a lot of work into it, right? I would imagine.
I don't know. I mean, it's
because it's like, it feels like to me, like in the community, like everybody, how do I want to put it, everybody is something until they find out they're not, or they find out what it takes to be that, and then they're like, well, that's a lot of work. Well, I can't do that, because you have to be like on social media, right? And engaging.
Well, for one, millennials start being born in like 1995, so millennials are a lot older than a lot of people think.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's why the frustration is, because like, you're, oh, come on, man.
But I just think it's harder to work for, I mean, I am a millennial, but it's harder to work for younger people. Like, I graduated high school in 2007. I was able to like move and work a retail job and pay rent in Chicago for a year. I did go into like a little bit of debt, but I moved back and I was able to like work an entry-level hair job and pay off that debt and then rent an apartment and have enough time. And I don't feel like young people can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could do it at a time where like I wasn't worried about like losing my job. I didn't have to have like the type of serious job where that kind of stuff was gonna like threaten my employment but honestly, everything that I've ever gotten in life, I've gotten by showing up on time, looking like I should be there, and talking to people. And I think a lot of people work too hard, and that you just gotta be like personable. I mean, I really like with Suicide Girls, that was 100% a matter of knowing the right people at the right time. It was almost always a matter of knowing the right people at the right time. I mean, you have to have like the other stuff, but you can be the hardest working person in the world, and if you're not willing to like show up and talk to people, nobody's
you have to
help
talk
you.
to people.
Especially in like creative pursuits.
Yeah, that's how you like. Synergy is so important in a creative atmosphere. Like, if you're a creative person and that's your passion, you're creating, you want to surround yourself with people that have that same synergy, that spark. And just like you did today, you came and I was on this mission to do something, and you completely changed it for me because you were like, own your own production, like own your own shit. And I was like, do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't like think about the legality. Like as a model, if you don't have a pre-established contract, it defaults to the photographer owning your photos. Always. If you ever take a photo with somebody and you don't have a pre-established contract, it defaults to the photographer.
Same thing in radio, or any kind of like any big money advertising is the same thing. Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen it, hundreds of times. Bands come in and there's a local photographer, and these bands are legit, and they don't have these contracts in line because they don't know. It's not, unless it's spoken to you, it's unspoken. It's just you need to have this. So I've seen it hundreds of times. It's amazing to me how many people it actually happens to. I mean, more than you'd think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm gonna do. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you have to think about like who owns Tiffany.
Me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Who owns me? Oh, me.
I am the boss of me.
Yeah.
And I am a product of me. So.
Yeah. But if you're not careful, like the law doesn't default to that.
I know. That's what's so effed up. It's like that's what happened with my Born Different documentary. It's like I didn't realize, I was so excited to do that. I did not read the fine print. I did not know what I was signing.
Yeah.
And then come to find out that, I'm on Getty Images and I'm not making any of that money. It's like, how did that happen? So I think you just avoided for me that happening again.
Again forever.
Right? I'm like, duh. Because like when you said it sounded so like, well, duh.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. Synergy. That's the whole.
Well, it's like our currency as creatives isn't money, because there's not a lot of money in this. So if you want to work as a creative, you better get along and contribute to other creatives in your community.
Absolutely.
Because
networking, supporting, showing up.
Yeah.
That is all a part of it. It's not just painting a picture.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you're just doing a hobby, and you might as well go work a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's true. And I think the other part of it is like when you've been doing it for X amount of years, and they say 40,000 hours before you're professional. I call bullshit. Your entire life to be a professional, not just 40,000 hours. And the thing for me is like you have to care. If you can get everybody on the same page as you, then everybody that shares your content, you should grow with the people that share your content. If you're promoting and supporting yourself and others more than anybody supporting you, you're in the wrong circles. Because if nobody cares about the same, if you do a post and I share it and you share it, but it's about you, and you don't share it, you don't promote it, how serious is it really going to be taken? And that's happened in my podcast. That's happened in my community with musicians and artists who, like, I'm just here for the airtime. Okay, well, what do you have to offer for the airtime? Oh, well, I got this cover song I wrote in my buddy's basement. And I'm like, yeah, no. Like, we're a little past that. And it's getting everybody to understand the type of work you have to put in to be able to succeed.
Well, it's like there's all these like unspoken rules, and it's like it's not just in creative fields, but in any field. If you're not like willing to play the game a little bit, you're not going to be successful. And I think so many people are just so opposed to doing that. They just...
You can play the game with good intentions.
Yeah, you don't have to be like evil or manipulative, but
and a lot of people get confused by that.
I think that's
because
true.
They start making it a competition, and it's like, I'm not competing with you. You are not me, and I am not you.
Yeah.
So, if you're not gonna be supportive, instead making it, sometimes it just goes to people's heads.
And even if you are competing, like even if you had
It's okay to have a little competition.
Yes, even if you were like, even if you were competing, even if all of your other influencer friends were similar to you in some way, then it would be like, so what? Then you have a group of people with a similar following supporting you. And some people may only choose to follow one or two of you because they
you might like one of his
see
more.
as similar, and they
right, or you connect to you relate to them more.
I'm always suspicious of people who surround themselves with people who are like dumber, less popular, less interesting. Like if your whole circle is like that, then there's something wrong. Like I want my circle to be smarter than me, popular. I want them to like elevate me. Like if I can get into a circle where I'm the worst one there and I'm being elevated, that's like way more ideal than being like queen of the circle of buffoons.
Exactly. Yeah, because you want to grow as a person. So if you're surrounded by these people that are not
threatened by your success.
That's why I tell people stay out of the comments. Like if you got something positive to post and you have a following or any kind of anything, don't post your positivity, don't read the comments. Just post your positivity, because so many people get wrapped up in the, oh well, that they said that and they say that, and then before the end of the day they take their post down.
Oh my gosh, I am being destroyed right now on TikTok, and I love it. It is so funny, because these people don't know me. They don't know. They eat a cheeseburger. I do. I could eat 5 of them. I'm still gonna fucking look like this. I'm sorry that you can't do that. Like, Martha, how many followers do you have? 12?
But those people really do just sit all day and just like...
Right. It's like, I have so many things to do. Like when my first documentary came out on YouTube, my mom I told her, I was like, don't start reading that shit. Don't even worry about it. She's like, do you ever read that? I'm like, no, I don't have time. Like, I don't care. Like, I did it, it's done, I'm moving on.
And it's like, what can somebody say to you that you haven't heard before?
Right.
I mean, right. Or you haven't said to yourself. Or you haven't said to yourself.
I give energy to the people that reach out to me to thank me for putting myself out there and inspiring them, and I that's great. And sometimes I do give a little attention to the a-holes out there, because
it's good for your brand to sort of engage a little bit.
I need to.
I love to poke the bear. It's fun.
Oh my gosh, that was my whole. By the way, everybody, that was my whole point in my TikTok yesterday, and it worked.
Yeah, we even came up with more bear poking ideas.
Exactly. Thank you. You inspired me. Synergy of the world.
Synergy is like one of those fake corporate words, though. Like,
right.
Synergy. All of a sudden, I feel like we're going to be in an open concept office.
I'll wait for the HR guy to come out and be like, hey, all right.
We're going to have an epic day.
We're going to set the stage for this epic event. Man. Looking at it today, one of my friends, his son's turned 16, and he's got over 50,000 followers on TikTok.
Nice. What does he do? Like, what's his content?
He just goes and sits in other people's lives. He sits in those grow rooms that they do, and he just collects, and he brought home, 16-year-old brought home a $2,000 paycheck for a month of sitting on TikTok. He didn't disclose how long he was sitting on his phone for that, but I would love to see his little phone, the chart that shows you what your usage is. I'd love to see what his usage is. But yeah, he brought home $2,000 check. He brought home more money from TikTok than his dad brought home in his full-time job. And,
And
it bothered his dad.
What's going on with that? You know what I mean? Like, it's so... But again, he is a creative young person, and he might go very far, Like, who knows what...
But do you want your kid like that? That's my question. Like I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I always look at them, and after I see some of the stuff I see on TikTok, I was like, man, you got 1.6 million whatever for kicking that puppy across the screen.
Yep.
Or doing whatever. Putting a marker on your forehead. I'm like, and I'm like, my daughter's watching this thing, you know, and like, even though she's like, why are they putting that on there? Never mind. Come here. Come. Get back to Disney. But I don't know. It's necessary evil these days to be in it and do it. But what would happen
if I think it is necessary, unfortunately, to have to engage on those kind of platforms, especially if you're a small business or if you're somebody that's trying to get yourself out there in any kind of public way, which is what I am doing.
Without spending thousands of dollars in advertising.
Exactly.
I think something people don't think about these kids is by the time they're 16, their parents have already posted their whole life non-consensually on Facebook. So it's like,
yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like, I feel like we just really do not put ourselves in their shoes often enough. Like, you know, like their whole baby album, there's posts about them pooping their pants, all sorts of stuff. I mean, think about like what a 16-year-old today would have a record of online. So like, at what point do you get to take ownership of that? Like, I don't really like, I don't know. I would be very strict if it were my choice about social media, but at 16, like, what are you gonna do? And it's like, at a certain point, I do think that they have the right to like take over their own image, even if they're gonna do something stupid with it. Because they already have, most 16-year-olds already have a long-standing curated image online that their parents made.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
By their parents posting their baby.
As soon as you said newborn baby with poundage and whatever, like boom, that's it. You just became a digital album for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I come from the photo album age. I think we all do, where we just had those, you know. And looking at it now, I'm like, what do you have to show for yourself when you get to a point, when you get to college, like. If there's college by the time, you know. But I mean, how do you, like, look on my resume, oh, I got 5,000 views on this post.
Right,
oh,
that's not gonna...
Great, like, yeah.
It depends what industry you work in, because there's a lot of industries
That's
where
true.
that's what your resume is going to be.
It's fair.
That's true. Just like we talked about today.
Yeah.
Like, I can go and present, you know, like, well, I already have this many followings, so... Yeah.
Well, like,
it's a leverage.
An interesting thing that's happening, like, with, like, Hollywood is that a lot is, like when you go to a casting call, they're looking at your following, which is, like, not great for art, right? Like, it's great for, like, maybe a sitcom or something, but you're talking about, like, dramas or, like, really, like, films being made, you're losing out on, like, a lot of talent.
Yeah. Of other stuff.
Yeah, because being good at some of those things doesn't mean you're good at marketing yourself.
No.
It's true. It's very true. Like, and I think that's where people, like, they get this idea that they have to do everything on their own. Like, I can't let somebody do this. It won't get done. Like, it will. You just might have to supervise it a little more, you know. But I don't think any one person. Like, anybody who sits back and says they're an independent artist, that's great, but at some point, you weren't.
Yeah, anybody who sits back and says they were an independent anything, I just do a big, like, eye roll to. Like, you're not a lonely island person who's never had any help.
Yeah, right.
We've all had help.
Yeah.
Along the way.
It's true.
And even the help, even if it's bad help.
I mean, right, yeah, even if it's been shitty help, you're still like, I had it, I did.
Could have been worse, I guess.
Right. The wheels didn't fall off, so I guess.
We made it through that
one.
Yeah.
Man. So, I have to ask, Sunshine, like, what advice do you have for ladies out there that are...
What's your advice for
ladies in general?
Yeah, just,
I have a lot of advice. Gonna need a whole new podcast.
We can do that.
Ladies in general.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
We have a new podcast coming up called Spill the Tea. I think
Spill the Tea, Teacher's Lounge. Now this one is
Ladies.
Ladies.
It just mean ladies, am I right?
That was
Am I
fucking
right?
great.
Can you give us an example of ladies, am I right?
I don't know. I think it would be like, I think it would be fun to do something that was like, ladies always going to the bathroom in groups, am I right? And then have a serious conversation about how scary it is to go alone places as a woman, and how like it's like a survival tactic, and that, you know, like our whole lives, like we've been made fun of from a young age, that we are like frivolous or like silly, or like even just the mere like going to take a shit is this sort of thing people make fun of you for.
Yeah.
But you are not safe going alone. And it's like from like, there's just so many implications about being raised that way that you don't even think about till you're so much older.
No,
And I think there's so
'cause you
many
don't even
things
think
that are
about
just
it.
played off as like a dumb, silly lady things. Like I think about like how, you know, talking about being like children of the 80s or whatever, even when we were growing up, and maybe still it's sort of this like women are frivolous for wanting jewelry. But the reason that women wanted jewelry is because they couldn't have bank accounts until 1976. So if you wanted to leave, the only valuable thing you could have is jewelry. So the only way somebody could give you independence was by buying you jewelry. And so it's like our whole lives we're told like women are shallow and frivolous or whatever, and it's like your grandma was trying to have a way out.
Right.
Yeah.
She didn't care about diamonds. She wanted a bank account.
And now basketball players buy their wives' yachts. So, I don't know if you saw that or not, but Aaron Rodgers, he's got a fiance, and like their marriage is up and down, and then she posted a picture of the new boat he bought her, and now everything's better. Like,
Of course.
I'm you know.
Please. I'm like, who is Aaron? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is. I'm like, what sport does he play? I don't even know what we're talking about.
It's really materialistic, you
No,
know.
but that's true, and yeah. So I like that. I like that. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of things that we make fun of women for that's so like part of our culture that are like, when you really learn about how ridiculous it is, like,
Yes.
like yeah, women did want jewelry because they couldn't have a bank accounts and they couldn't leave their marriages, and they had to convince men they were shallow, frivolous people who like to look pretty to have agency.
Yeah.
Man, that's scary.
It is.
Or to even get a job. Like, I don't, like,
Well, yeah, and most of the time, what happened to women, you know, back in the 50s, they doped them up on barbiturates.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you know about the stuff?
I'm
do you know about
unhappy.
the-
Take Valium.
Do you ever listen to the podcast You're Wrong About?
No.
It's good.
Okay.
But they have an episode about the Stepford Wives. Do you know about the Stepford? I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with like.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's
but it's
explain it.
but the story. So if you've never seen the Stepford Wives, it's sort of like these women live in this like suburban community, and they're suddenly being replaced by robots, and it's interesting. But it's really about women being put on antidepressants
Yes.
at that time, and that their husbands preferred them drugged up.
Yeah.
It's how they got the house clean. They were giving them speed and, like, you know what I mean? Like, and that was their solution for everything.
Yeah, well, a lot of them were being knocked out because you were so alone. You had to,
Yeah,
you couldn't leave the
it was
house.
both.
Yeah,
It was both.
yeah.
Like,
Uppers and
uppers and
downers.
downers. Seriously. But it was controlled by pharmaceuticals. Like, you're unhappy in your marriage, here's a pill.
Yeah. Well, it's like they've always
You don't
tried
have
to,
any
like,
motivation, here's a pill.
Well, and I think it's like an extension of like women are truly seen as property, and if
Yes.
your property isn't behaving the way you want it to, you medicate it. It's not, you know, you bought your
Or
wife.
shame it in
Yeah,
some way.
Well, yeah, you bought your wife to take care of the house, and if she's not fulfilling her job as your work animal, then you're going to medicate her into doing it.
Right? Or shame her into doing it. Or beat her into doing it. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, we're not like hating on men or anything, but
No, but you know, no.
But we could be.
he's sitting over there like,
Oh no, I'm not. So here's the thing. I'll put it from a man's standpoint. We can have this conversation. As the type of man I am, I have nothing but respect for women. For one, because I know what my family, the women in my family, went through. I realized that not every woman is the same. Not every emotion, thought, process, reasoning, any of it is all the same. You can't just stereotype somebody and say, this is you, and this is how it's going to be forever. You know, and I try to be as supportive as I can. And coming up in the 80s, I saw how divorced wives were treated. I saw how divorced men were treated. You know, and like there's a double standard, a big, huge, and still 2023, we're still having these conversations, but we're having these conversations on social media. And these conversations aren't really being conversated. They're being posted about, and then we get lost in the comments because there's one douchebag in there. You, Mark, you. Karen. But, no, you know, it's just, as a man, it's just a man who's honest with himself and honest with, it's disheartening to look at what my daughter is going to have to go through. You know, she's going to be 6 in April, and I'm looking at the future, and I'm like, wow, so all these independent, strong-headed women in my life went through this. Now, my daughter is going to come up in this, well, I have to have the Snapchat filter. I have to have this or that. My friend's got an iPhone, Dad. Why can't I have an iPhone? You know, and I've had a battle between myself and Mom on where, how, what that's going to take. And I think, honestly, I say all that to say this, as a man, it scares the shit out of me to look at what my daughter's going to endure or could endure.
But it's so much better now. I mean, she's raised in a post-Me Too world. She's going to always be expected to have her own bank account with her own name on it. It's even so radically different from when I was 20.
Oh, yes.
I mean, this, like, and that's what's crazy for me to think about is, like, I've reached, being in my early 30s, it's like I've reached enough time alive that things I used to think about our mothers and our grandmothers' generation, I now think about our generation. Like, I'm now seeing all the shit we put up with that younger women don't put up with anymore.
Right. Yeah.
100%. I totally agree with that.
I mean, girls nowadays can grow up knowing that they can be their own independent woman. Who's running the world? Girls, right? Yeah. Beyonce said it. So,
but what I think is really the gap is, like, men need to create a movement for themselves similar to what women did in the 70s, but the problem with all of these movements that are being created, in my opinion, like you see like Jordan Peterson or like, you know, those sorts of people, is like men need to make a movement created by men to push men into caretaking roles. Instead of all this conversation about like women need to be in STEM, women need to be in mathematics, like men need to see value in relationships with other people and being a caretaker. And
100%.
And they
seeing the true value,
and they need to push for it for themselves. Like, as women, we and our mothers and our grandmothers, they pushed for that. And I think men need to demand paternity leave. If men are home with their babies, they're going to be better fathers and more bonded to the babies. Jobs are going to be more likely to hire women because they're not going to look and say, oh, you're going to take time off for your baby. Everybody's taking time off. What does it matter?
Right.
And it's like they need to be the ones that go to the doctor's appointment. When the doctor looks at mom and asks for the kid's symptoms, the dad needs to look at the doctor and answer.
That's
and
me.
Start to
That's
train
me.
the doctor that you know.
Yep, that's
because
me.
It's,
yep, 100%. It's and not, I think men are like, it's unknown. It's an unknown realm, and it's like, if the wrench doesn't turn, then it's not gonna go. Like, I feel like in that situation, like, I am that dad, I am that significant other, where it's like, you're down and out right now. I need to do this. This isn't going to get done if not.
Yeah.
You know? And some of my buddies are going to listen to this podcast and be like, you dogged on us the whole show. I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't say anything that wasn't true. You know, like, we do need to step up, but we also need to be able to have an opportunity to step up.
I think think everybody needs to step up.
Yeah, I think what's different is like women,
That's
we had to
right,
create our
baby.
own opportunity, and what I hear from a lot of men is that they're not being given the opportunity, and I just want to say fuck you for that, because it's like the for right or wrong, the reason the doctor is asking your wife is because they've had hundreds of thousands of experiences where the dad didn't know shit, and it's like.
Because that's the norm.
And it's like you can go in and change that just by going in and answering the questions. Even if they look at your wife or your partner, like you answer the questions.
Yeah.
But it's also like men need to realize that cleaning, household management, chores, remembering birthdays, buying gifts are all skills that are learned. Like I have never felt like I was very good at the stereotypical like female things, and I feel often like resentful, like I don't want to be like in charge of those things, but they're skills I was able to learn, and I feel like a lot of men feel like they're like innate things that they've got to this age and they've got these gaps and they can't learn them, but it's like, or maybe some men feel like it's not worthwhile to learn a feminine skill set, or it's not worth their time to manage a household or manage a chore, but it's like women are going to leave men behind if they don't learn to make the strides in the home that women have learned to make in the workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, dads out there, like dads that are trying to be single dads, that are trying to step up. The state, in some cases, you know, even locally, like they won't. So there's been a couple instances where I've had to go to the food stamp office, take my kids to the food stamp office, get our stuff recharged, do what we need to do. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a scowl or a mean look or even a comment from a mom who was sitting in there in the food stamp office like, well, why don't you have a job? Well, why are you here? I had a lady accost me across the room from each other about how I needed to have a job and I had no business being in there to get food stamps. I had no business to be in there. You're a man. You need to have a job. What kind of piece of shit are you? And I quote, and the WIC lady was like, no, Dad, like, that's awesome that you're here. Dads don't do this enough. And so like having both sides of that thing, I was like, man, like over here's bad, over here's good. Like it's hard, you know? And I think
It's hard to raise kids in general.
We're just too stubborn.
Single is,
I think we're just too stubborn. Men are just way too stubborn to stop and be like, hey, not what do I need to, what should I do?
Yeah.
Or what do I want to do?
I actually don't think it's stubbornness. I think that men are so conditioned to fear weakness, and they're so conditioned that certain things are a weakness that it's not that they're like too stubborn to take on parenting duties, is they're too conditioned to admit that there's a deficit or that there's something that is valuable they don't have, or that like the values of like being the provider maybe are not enough anymore, that you also have to be, you know, just like we as women, like we've been told for so long to show up and pay half the rent and do all of this stuff, but we're still doing so much more. And it's like,
Yeah.
because I read something online that was like millennial women out earn and are out educated from millennial men, but they still do the bulk of the child rearing and the home stuff.
That's true. I would totally support that because I know a little. Yeah. Yeah. I yeah. And even some of the guys that I know in that community, they're so like pro dad, what I call pro dads, where like there's all that whole, it's an umbrella and they carry it and they're like, yes, we're doing this. And then there's other dads that are just like twirling their umbrella, like, oh, how lucky I am. My wife or my girlfriend does this and that, so I don't have to do that today. She's gonna do that, you know. And I don't know. If you make the mess, clean it up, or if you do this, do that. Like, it all starts with, I think, communication.
Yeah, and I think men are getting like aware of some things, but it's like there's some things that are like even hard to articulate to people. It's like women are often the family photographer. And it sucks. And it's like the only way to remedy that is to learn how to take good pictures, don't ask permission, and just start doing it. And I think a lot of men want permission or to be told to do something, and it's like that's inherently the labor that most women want to be removed.
What is being yes.
Yeah. Because it's like it's like if I'm at a regular job and I'm the manager, I'm gonna do way less work. But if I'm a woman and I'm the household manager, I'm gonna do more work, and then I'm often gonna be there's gonna be tension perhaps in my relationship because my partner's gonna feel like I'm always nagging. So then not only am I doing more of the workload, but like your partner sees it as you're demanding.
Relationships in general are just so bizarre. Human behavior is so bizarre, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, I think a lot of people forget the basic human understanding, and they get wrapped up in this whole, well, you should be this, and you should believe this way, and you should be doing this on it, you should dress this way, and I can't be with you if you don't line up to all of these different things, or, you know what I mean? Or I can't mesh well with you if you don't do everything for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's fine if you're realistic about yourself and you're upfront about that, and you peace out when somebody doesn't meet those, like, requirements. It's bad when you stay with somebody and you like trap them.
Yes. Or force them to be something that they're not.
But I feel like though
we should all grow together and learn to be better people. But I mean, it's like, at what point do you stop nagging and just go, okay, and then like stop doing all of it? You know what I mean? Like,
you know, I think
it has to go both ways.
It does. Looking at like, you know, I think certain men come from a certain kind of childhood that impacts the way they deal with their future relationships, and I don't think that that's talked about enough.
Yeah.
You know, depending, like, my dad was a Vietnam vet, so I came up on tough love. Like, you know, he had no problem telling me he loved me, but try to get him to talk about why it's blue outside and not orange, he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I always thought that I was the problem growing up. Like, being the kid, I always thought it was my fault. And my dad doesn't want to communicate with me, whatever. And I had to actually understand what that took. But now, as a grown adult, and looking at it as a dad myself, I see a lot of men in that situation. I think it's a fear of, like, I don't know, I'm the type of person where if there's things to do, like, yeah, you should know what needs to be done, but some days you can't do them in that order. So you have to negotiate, you have to conversate with your partner, you know, and it's not stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home mom. Like, no, it's an important job. It's not just well, you're just a stay-at-home mom. You eat macaroni and cheese all day and watch Sally Jesse, and that's it, you know. And I think men are finally realizing that it's not the case.
Yeah, I mean,
times are so
I would rather just go to work than do the other stuff. But it's like, to your point about how people are raised, I think a lot of people are raised in homes without fathers, and I mean, a lot of people have a lot to say about the consequences of that, but I think a consequence of that is when you live in a home where literally your mom is doing everything, you start to have a fantasy of what a dad is like from a kid's perspective. So you start to have these fantasies of, like, if I had a dad, then maybe he would provide money and mom would have more time with me. Or if I had a dad would play with me. But you're a kid, so none of these fantasies have to do with, like, if I had a dad, him and mom would spend time together. Or like, so then you get older, and when you become a dad, your ideas of being a good husband are so kid-focused. And so focused on what a kid thinks they were missing that I don't know how you sort of reconcile that as, like, an adult, because you really did see a woman do everything, and even though you might, like, have a lot of empathy for that, or, like, have a lot of, like, thoughts about that, it's like, how do you fill in the gaps of, like, your fantasy of what it meant to be a dad? Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't know where you've been, like, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going, you know. And it's as a that's why I kind of do the podcasting. That's why I do this. That's why I do what I do, because I love having these conversations. I've never been afraid to steer away from this kind of conversation. I've been in conversation with people that are afraid, and you can see they visually shut down. They're just not in it, you know. And you went back to what you said, Sunshine, earlier. When you see those kinds of people, you tend to go the other way because it's going to obstruct your clarity, you know. And I totally relate to you with that. Tiffany, you've been doing these episodes with me, and we've been hanging out for a minute. For you, what is it for you when you look at today and look at where we're going and where we have to be doing and all the things that you've encountered being a businesswoman on top of dealing with the health issues that you've dealt with? What is it for you that is your saving grace, for lack of a better? Like, what saves you at the end of the day when everything wants to shut down and you're kind of like, man, I just don't want to fucking do this anymore. I'm just done. Like, I've never asked you, what is your saving grace? Everybody has one where they get down and they grab onto it. Do you have one?
Creating and connecting to people. It's really that simple.
Yeah. Right on.
In a chaotic world, it could be a list of a million things, but that's really all it is. I mean, my brain fires off so many different things all day long.
I love your TikTok. Like, I love the gummy bears. I love the chocolate banana. Like,
I'm causing a frenzy on TikTok
Yeah.
right now with my skinny legs, skinny hairs. No, but
You look stupid with big fat legs.
I mean,
look at you.
what the hell am I supposed to look like? I know everyone's like,
Can you imagine you're
cheeseburger.
just like you, but you've got like big, giant, thick legs?
I don't think people realize that I
I can't tell how tall you are either.
No, and exactly, they don't know how tall I really am because they just see me on a video. They're not.
There's no
they have
point
no
of reference.
scale. And
Right, yeah.
I have never weighed more than 72 pounds my entire life. So I consistently have weighed the same for the majority of my life, give or take 5-10 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's just so interesting to see how the world reacts to
The body
something
police.
different. Oh my God, people are so mean. I don't care. I don't get affected by that because I am so immune to that kind of behavior.
Right.
It's like, you don't know me as a person. I don't, like, what are you eating on right now, Sally? Like, how much do you weigh? You know, like, don't, like, it doesn't matter. And I do that sometimes. I do kind of put things out there sometimes just because I am different. I could just sulk about it and hide from the world, but instead, I stir the shit. And in a good way, not in a bad way. I don't,
Like, I think it's good for people like to see somebody they look up to get hate and be okay.
yeah.
Like,
because
like you can't make it stop. And
No.
even if you were just like a regular person in the world, people still have shit to say about you.
I was dancing in a dance leotard. You know what I mean?
Offensive.
Oh,
How
God.
dare you?
Oh. Oh.
My bare legs,
I'm unfriending you, Tiffany.
my bare legs were showing. I was dressed from the top up.
I wish my bare legs could cause such a frenzy.
I was like,
Yeah, right. Let me show him my good leg real
who
quick.
knew? Like, it is so. But yes, that's why I do it. I want people to see, like, we are all so weird and different, and we all look different, and some of us take care of ourselves better than others, and
sometimes you can take care of yourself the best that you possibly can, and you
Absolutely.
still may not.
absolutely.
That doesn't always have to do with how you look.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, when I say like take care of us, I mean like in a whole sense,
Like a spiritual way.
Physical, mental, emotionally. Like if you can't touch me on any of those levels, then what you have to say about me does not matter because I've already accepted myself for who I am. So I really don't give a shit what anybody else thinks.
Well, and it's like that's the key. Like if you're not willing to admit how you're weird, how are you ever supposed to find people who like you?
Hello.
You're like always going to be alone if you don't let the freak flag fly a little bit.
Right, and freaks are so much more interesting. than uptight, closed-minded.
Closeted freaks.
Yeah.
Who are probably in their mom's basement liking your shit anyway.
Exactly.
And commenting.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Call me then. No, but that is my inspiration. That is my saving grace, is me being able to create and have the ability to bring it to fruition. Because a lot of times I honestly, I just get an idea and I run with it, or I do it. That's how it happens. I am not the kind of person that just, I put more thought into those things rather than what is happening to me physically and with my disease. My disease, unless something is wrong and I'm struggling with something or something is going awry physically, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about doing all the other shit that I'm doing.
The Million Woman March, that's what I
Exactly.
call it.
Like,
You're
I'm
out
on
here.
social media. I'm running this business. Like, this business is a lot to handle by myself. This is a lot. And a lot of people that are even not in a physical state that I am can't do something like this. So it really is all in a matter of perspective and determination on what you're going to do.
I know people with college degrees that wouldn't know what to do. I would walk in
Exactly.
here and be like, I don't even
They
know
would
what
be
to
so
do.
scared. Like, and this is intimidating. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of people writing on you. You know, like I have created this world, and if I decide one day to wake up and go, I don't want to do this anymore. Do you know how many people that you know, like? So I have created this, like, not dependency, but it that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
I have created this life that I'm living, so that, I mean, I want people to understand that you don't have to, everything is temporary. So when we talk about, you know, relationships and doing that thing, like, I just want people to, you know, really understand that you can be so much more creative if you are not in a state of
Impairment? Or
Frozen.
Frozen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Any
like,
sort of fear response.
Yeah.
right. So if there's, and I know a lot of people right now that are going through stuff where, you know, they're trying to decide, you know, how to break free from a life that they've known for so many years to do something that they, or even not knowing what they want to do, but they just want to know that they want to do something different. So I just say anybody that is in that position, like, if you're not happy, you're not going to be able to create anything. You're just going to be dormant or stagnant, as you, like mosquito water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think I can't be the inspiration for other people if I am not in a good place. And
That's
I think
fair.
I am a much better person to put myself in a place to inspire rather than let my circumstance become me or, you know, take over.
Sunshine, same question for you.
You have to say the question again.
No,
You had
no.
such a long answer. I don't even know what you were
I don't
asked.
even know what the hell I said.
with
What's your saving grace?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What saves you?
Spite.
Yeah!
That's the most honest answer I've ever heard. That was brilliant.
My personal motto is that through spite, all things are possible.
Yes.
That's true.
Well, that's kind of how, like, Tenacious is. I do that
it's
despite to show you I can't do it.
Exactly. I mean, I don't go after people or like use it
No,
maliciously,
not
or I'm not like
malicious.
trying to like seek out like
No, but you're determined.
revenge. But it's like there's nothing that motivates me more than like some sort of fuck you to somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
true.
It's
I
like
agree.
and it's like those sort of like fuck yous that are like through your own success. Like you would never want to be going out like sabotaging somebody or like tearing somebody
Right.
down, but sort of like
No.
but it's like sort of like what you're saying, like you thought I couldn't do this? Well, like
Watch.
yeah.
Watch me. Not
Haha,
only can
motherfucker.
I'm going to do it 10 times better than what you thought I could do in the first place. That's my saving grace, too, is the fuel to my fire is telling me I can't, or I'm not allowed, or no.
Mine was never gonna. You're never gonna.
Yeah.
You know, like, no.
Yeah.
I'll see. I'll remember that.
John Casablanca modeling agency, when I was younger in high school, they had this like thing at the mall, and I wanted to sign up, and the lady told me, she was like, "Oh, honey," she was like, "you're too little." I was like, "What?" She's like, "You don't have a look."
Well, like, what is that today, though?
Look?
I mean, right.
But now I am in.
Now you do.
I do
Yeah.
have that look, and guess what look it is? Mine. My look. It's my look, all my own. I don't want to look like all of these other girls. I don't want to look like other people. Like, I want to be in a class all by myself.
Yeah.
My own planet.
Well, it's like you always have been, and now people like starting to
know.
recognize that. Now it's like,
Yeah.
isn't that interesting that now like your whole life it's like people want you to be this other thing, and now it's like you are the thing.
I'm the thing. I am that thing.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's like there's always been like counterculture, but it's cool to be different in a different way than I think it ever was
Yes.
before.
Yeah, it's
And cool
more
to be
accepting.
genuine.
Yeah, that's the difference. Is like there are people that exploit their difference,
Oh, yeah.
and then there are people that genuinely say, "Hey, look, this is me. This is who I am, and take it or leave it. Like, I'm not gonna force you to love me. I'm not gonna, but." And I have to worry about stuff like exploitation.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. That's a scary world to get into because there are so many different wrong roads that you can go down when someone is not guiding you or someone has the wrong intentions for you or they're just looking to get that 10% or that 15%, like I'm so glad that we had that conversation. Seriously, like you have opened my eyes to a whole new world of like how to monetize myself.
Well, it's huge to own your own content because you really, 10 years ago, it was difficult to own your own content. 20 years ago, it was impossible to own your own content.
Right.
But you can own everything.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I learned that lesson because I did a bunch of stuff for somebody locally. Shall not name them. But I did a large portion of work for them, and I found that out the hard way. So I went back and I trademarked all my stuff, and I watermarked the shit out of it, trademark it, I've only, thankfully, knock on wood, only had to serve one person with a cease and desist order. We're gonna keep that for another show. But yeah, so it's really important, and I don't think enough people know. I think they're so fast to create the content that they're not thinking about the result of that content.
Well, and not to be like really political, but I think anybody who is earning money in a capitalist society should be concerned about exploitation because it's not just creatives that are exploited in that way. I mean,
right. Yeah.
There's a lot of fine prints and a lot of jobs that are exploitative.
Exploitative.
That sounds wrong too.
Yeah. How do you say that?
Exploitation.
No, exploitative. That's
Exploitative. Right, that's never wrong. We'll just say it. We'll add that
Exploitative? Exploitative?
Man. Well, ladies, it's been absolutely fun. We're cruising through. We did over an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow.
We give them a lot of content.
We could sit here and talk longer too.
We definitely could.
I don't know, there's so many things that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, future episodes.
I know,
Oh
right?
yeah, for days. I'm
Days.
excited. Sunshine, thank you so much for coming in and gracing us with your presence. It's really awesome to see such a bright. You really are sunshine. It's really awesome.
She is.
So thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anybody or anything, anybody you want to shout out or anything you want to leave with the listeners today?
I don't know. I feel like I should have been prepared for this question. I have some artwork at Wanderlust Studios. If you've never heard of it, it's this really great logo place.
Yeah.
Woman named Tiffany owns it. She's pretty cool. She has,
Who's that?
really nice legs, I hear. She's really disrupting TikTok right now.
Go follow.
Yeah, right.
Go follow Sunshine too. And come see her art. She's got a lot of cool stuff in here.
All right. Well, everybody, be ready for our next podcast. Be up next week. Tiffany, do you have anything you want to throw in before we get out the door? You're good at the last minute things. You got anything you want to throw in before we get out the door?
Yeah, come see me.
Come see me. All right, guys.
Come see me.
Head over to wanderlustseedless.com for all the events and all the awesome jewelry, candles, this, that, and everything that the website has to offer. And we'll be getting some links up for Sunshine as well, so stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, I'm Antman, and I'm out the door with these awesome ladies. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.